up guys, it's Monster Mech Sam here with another video. Today we'll be discussing Gears 5 characters to expect for multiplayer and why. Before we get started, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button to my channel for future Gears content and more. It is October 10th, 2019 and we are 5 weeks in from the game's official release date without a single new multiplayer character announced or anything. All we've been getting so far is new skins for escape characters and classic skins for the main characters of Gears of War 4. I have yet to hear anything about upcoming characters from social groups or fellow YouTubers either, so I'm kind of puzzled on when we're going to get some details on new characters and how to get them, or if they're going to be free at the exception of paying for their alternate skins. Because I highly doubt that the current character roster is the final roster in comparison to Gears 4's massive list of playable characters. I mean, there's hardly anybody you can play from in this game, out of the plenty of characters that are in the campaign. I'm sure that if there's any upcoming characters, that they will be earnable through the Tour of Duty or purchasable through the store. But here's my list of who to expect from the campaign to make it a multiplayer. So if you don't want any spoilers, now is your chance to head out. Okay, first up we got the COG Soldier. Now, the reason I say this is because you're going to have to trust me when I tell you that I saw a screenshot on a community post that there was a glitch for someone to have a tour objective saying get 10 eliminations as COG Soldier, or something like that. But it seemed legit after I had that encounter with knowing Classic Dell was making a return through the store items. Anyway, the COG Soldier would make a great first update character because it's generic and broad enough to make multiple skins from. Besides, I love playing as a no-name gear in Gears 4 because it made me feel like the character was my own. Plus, the title of COG Soldier can open up a window of bringing back the Onyx Guard as a skin, which I know everyone has been waiting for. I think the Guard was getting bumped in the cutscene because it's a nod to the players from the Coalition that, hey, we get it. Which leads us to our next character topic.
Yeah, okay, I get it.
You can help us end this.
Hopefully you figured it out by now, but it's Jinn, or more specifically, the Jinn Bot. Obviously the First Minister isn't going to be fighting along the Gearheads, but I wouldn't doubt she'd be fighting futuristically from the sidelines. Jinn has used her personal bot to confront JD and the gang in Gears 4. But if you haven't played Guardian in Gears 5, she is the golden leader. I mean, the Jinn Bot is. Like any Gears game with Guardian, the Guardian character has always been playable at some point. Since we're on the topic of Gears 4 characters, let's talk about Oscar. Oscar supposedly died in Gears 4, but the after credits prove otherwise. Thus is why he made an appearance in Gears 5, oddly enough, to actually die by his own niece. Poor drunk bastard. But he said it himself, where she goes, I go. And if that's 100% true, then he's following her to Gears 5 multiplayer. He's got enough skins to use from his appearances in both games to hold his own in the roster, so fuck it, why not? Plus people had a lot of fun doing cringy shit in verses as that lard ass, so I'd be assuming it's gonna be pretty fucking hilarious to see more of that cancer with expressions added to the game. Next up is the legend himself, Cole Train. Cole made a quick appearance in the Gears 5 campaign during the first act. Here you can see he's wearing the same armor he was using during Gears 4, so I don't see why he wasn't ready to play in multiplayer when it literally looked like the Coalition just copied and pasted everything else in the game. Huh, strange. The same act, we got our first look at a new character in the Gears 5 campaign, Lizzie. Lizzie is recognized mostly for being Clayton Carmine's niece, but besides that, she's a pretty solid character on her own. I'm glad they gave her a connection though, so players can give her more recognition and appeal. You can see both her and Cole here in-game with our next character, the DeeBees. These COG bots have been around since Gears 4 and played part on the Swarm's team. However, the DeeBees have constantly shifted sides depending on the circumstances in the campaign, so I'm curious as to whose team they'd be on in multiplayer. Perhaps regular blue and gray DeeBees would be on the COG's team, while red and gray bots are on the Swarm side. Better yet, the Swarm gets to have rejects as a skin. Robots are cool and all, but nothing beats the grub killer himself, Clayton Carmine. C. Carmine was last seen in Gears 3, but has made a comeback 25 years later and still kicking ass. His return to multiplayer would spark a frenzy of players to demand his fallen brothers get resurrected for action. Perhaps all Carmine brothers could pose as one character slot, with each member being a skin of their own. However, they did have their own set of skills, so whatever works best, I guess. Every Gears game has come with a playable Carmine, except for Judgment, I think. It would be criminal not to add them all to this game, after adding Lizzie to the family tree and bringing back the Grub Killer.
Look, I'm not gonna lie. It's real ugly out there.
Then we watch each other's backs. Like always.
As you can see, they already got his character model ready and set up in the campaign, and the same goes for all the other characters that I've shown. But I'm just surprised that they didn't add them all to multiplayer right away. Maybe they just wanted to leave some excitement for later on, but we still haven't seen much content lately. Here we will be knocking out 2 and 1, Paduk and Baird. Both of these guys have been around since Gears of War Judgment, which took place before the Locust emerges in Gears 1. However, Baird is mostly known for being the tech guy of Marcus's crew from Gears 1 through 3, while Paduk I only recognize from Judgment. It's a given to see Baird back for Gears 5 since he's been in pretty much every game, but Paduk was a complete surprise for me. Why even put them in the game though if you're not going to play as them, especially when they've both been playable before? So it's just a must for them to make it back to the multiplayer roster at some point. As you can see, the game already has Paduk's character model in-game. You actually get to see him in action during the final act of the campaign, but like I said, no hint whatsoever on if or when he's going to be playable. Same goes for Baird. Here's his character model, and it's the same one for Gears 4. As you can see, it's another copy and paste model, and it's just so much garbage that even if we got these guys later on in the Tour of Duty, we still have to spend hours and possibly money to get them. Definitely refusing to pay real cash for any more of this game, but we'll see what the future holds. For our final expected multiplayer character, we go back to the past. Yup, you guessed it, the Locusts, or as Niles likes to call them, the Hybrid. Locusts were the main antagonists of Gears games until they supposedly died in the 3rd installment. Now they're back in the campaign after Kate discovers her connection to their origins. In every game, except for Gears Judgment, Locusts have been playable. Even in Gears 4 multiplayer, surprisingly enough. They weren't even in the campaign because it was all about the Swarm. But now they're back, with in-game character models and everything, so it only makes sense to make them playable again. During the last chapter of the second act, you get to briefly fight the Locusts again while pursuing Niles. You can see they're hardly wearing anything because they've been in containment, but that's what would make their characters so unique for multiplayer. It'd be like having the Swarm Imago on the battlefield because these skins represent the origins of the Locusts. Plus, they have those injections on their backs to look cool, so it's not like they're just a plain naked model. They've actually got some detail to them. Anyway, that's all I can think of for characters that should be guaranteed for multiplayer. Now I'm going to get into more personal favorites that I'd like to see come to the roster. I only have a few extras that I'd really like to make it a multiplayer besides the characters I've already listed, and one of them are the Outsiders. You really got to dive into their culture during the second act, and they remind me of a human version of the Savage Locusts. Plus, with all the various outfits they have in the village, it would make a great culture-based character in comparison to the COG Soldier. For example, I'd like to play as either of these two Outsider guards, and maybe both of them could share a single character slot as skins. Who knows? While I was noticing all these possible skins for an Outsider character, this one stood out to me the most, so I thought I'd share it because I totally favor playing this guy in multiplayer. Now, I know what you're thinking, and it's not Jay Stratton. I know he was mentioned in the first act of Gears 5 campaign, and I'm not gonna lie, it would be pretty cool for him to make a return in an actor's outfit, since that's his new occupation apparently.
What's your name?
My main focus is Alicia Valera.
Jay Stratton.
Alicia's first appearance was in Gears of War 3, Rom Shadow, and ever since I completed the DLC, she was my favorite character to play as in multiplayer. Unfortunately for me, she didn't make a return to Gears of War 4 with updated looks, but I think there's hope for me yet.
Stick with us. We'll get you to safety. Come on.
Now, the reason I have hope is because of this collectible that I found in the second act of the campaign. I found it next to a Gears corpse inside a train that was buried in the snow. I could tell that the corpse wasn't her because it had no physical resemblance whatsoever, so my guess from the photo details is that this was Alicia's little brother, who grew up to be a Gear and died with a photo of her remembrance. This had me super excited because now I have a chance to get my favorite female character back in the game. Fortunately, Alicia died by the blade of Rom, trying to save Jace's ass, who hasn't made an appearance since Gears 3. But it's fine. She got a young, strong, beautiful Latina, and it's not like Gears games haven't brought back characters from the dead before in multiplayer. Plus, I think she was voiced by the same actress that plays Kate, so they have every opportunity to bring her back. So, to sum up the video, all supporting characters and enemies with in-game models should practically be guaranteed as future content, because that would be a total waste of them even making an appearance if they didn't. Hopefully we see one of them show up soon before we lose patience and interest. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll keep you updated on my list as it comes true. So, I'll see you next time.